The red sun of Kepler 442b cast long shadows across the titanium mines as Jake Morrison swung his pickaxe against the hard rock wall. Sweat dripped from his face despite the cool underground air. His hands were rough and bleeding from years of digging in these tunnels. The Zephyrian guards watched from their platforms above, their reptilian eyes cold and unforgiving. Their energy weapons hummed with deadly power, ready to strike down any human who stopped working or showed defiance. Jake had been a captain in the Earth Defense Force 50 years ago when the alien ships first appeared in Earth's sky. He remembered the day clearly. The massive vessels blocked out the sun as they descended like metal gods from space. Humanity fought bravely, but their weapons were useless against Zephyrian shields. In 3 days, Earth fell. In 3 weeks, every human colony in the galaxy was under alien control. The aliens were tall and strong, with green scales that looked like armor. They moved with military precision and showed no mercy to those who resisted. They called themselves the Zephyrian Empire and claimed that humans were nothing more than animals suitable for hard labor. They separated families, destroyed human cities, and scattered people across dozens of mining worlds and factory planets. Jake's wife, Lisa, worked in the communications center on the other side of the mining complex. She was smart and had learned to speak the Zephyrian language quickly. This skill kept her alive, but also put her in a dangerous position. The aliens trusted her to relay messages between different human work groups, not knowing that she sometimes changed the words to pass. Secret information. Their son Alex was 17 now and had grown up knowing only slavery. He worked in the equipment repair section, where his quick hands and sharp mind impressed even the Zephyrian supervisors. But Jake could see the anger burning in his son's eyes every time an alien guard struck a human worker or denied them food. Alex had never known freedom, but somehow understood what they had lost. The mining tunnels stretched deep into the planet's core, where precious metals waited to fuel the Zephyrian war machine. Humans worked 16-hour shifts with little food and less rest. Those who became too weak or sick simply disappeared during the night. No one spoke of where they went, but everyone knew they would not return. Commander Kane Phillips worked beside Jake in the deepest tunnels. He had been a military strategist before the invasion and still carried himself like a soldier despite years of hard labor. Kane was older than Jake, and his gray hair showed the weight of their defeat. But his mind remained sharp, and he often whispered plans for escape or resistance when the guards were not listening. The aliens had taken everything from humanity. They destroyed libraries and schools, banned human languages except for work commands, and forbade any gathering of more than 3 people. They wanted to break the human spirit completely before implementing what they called the final solution. Rumors spoke of a plan to replace all human workers with machines once the technology was perfected. Lisa had heard these rumors through her work in communications. She managed to listen to Zephyrian military broadcasts when they thought no humans were present. What she learned filled her with terror. The aliens planned to eliminate every human in the galaxy within the next year. They saw humans as a temporary necessity that would soon become unnecessary. Jake gripped his pickaxe tighter as he thought about his family's fate. The Zephyrians believed humans were weak and primitive creatures who could never threaten their empire. They were wrong. Humans had survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters that would have destroyed other species. They adapted, learned, and found ways to overcome impossible odds. The aliens controlled the weapons and the ships, but they did not understand human nature. They saw only compliance and assumed it meant acceptance. They did not recognize the planning behind quiet conversations or the meaning of shared glances between workers. They could not imagine that broken slaves might still dream of freedom. Kane Phillips had been carefully watching the guard rotations and studying the mine's layout. He knew which tunnels led to maintenance areas and which times offered the best opportunities for movement. Jake had been training other miners in hand-to-hand combat, using techniques disguised as stretching exercises. Lisa was building a network of trusted humans across different work areas. The Zephyrians had made one crucial mistake. They underestimated the very qualities that made humans excellent slaves. The adaptability that helped humans survive in harsh mining conditions could also help them find ways to fight back. The intelligence that made them useful workers could also be used to plan rebellion. The social bonds that kept families together in captivity could unite an entire species in resistance. As the work shift ended and the humans filed back to their sleeping quarters, Jake caught his wife's eye across the compound. She gave him a small nod. Tonight, they would take the first steps toward reclaiming their freedom. The Zephyrians would soon learn that enslaving humanity was the greatest mistake their empire had ever made. Lisa Morrison's fingers moved carefully across the communication console as the night shift supervisor dozed at his desk. The Zephyrian was lazy and trusted that human slaves would never dare to misuse their equipment. He was wrong. Lisa had spent months learning every function of the complex system, and now she used that knowledge to send coded messages across the galaxy. The message was simple, but dangerous. Hidden within routine work reports, she embedded information about the final solution and coordinates for resistance cells on 12 different worlds. She used old Earth languages and cultural references that the Zephyrian translation systems could not understand. A quote from Shakespeare here, a line from an ancient song there, all carrying deadly serious intelligence to humans who would recognize the meanings. On the factory world of Proxima Station, Danny Carter received Lisa's message while pretending to repair a broken assembly line. His sister Nicole worked beside him, her quick hands dismantling Zephyrian components that would later be rebuilt into weapons for the Resistance. The Carter siblings had lost their parents during the initial invasion, but found new purpose in sabotage operations that slowly damaged alien productivity. Danny was a natural engineer who understood how machines worked by listening to their sounds and feeling their vibrations. The Zephyrians valued this skill and gave him access to sensitive equipment areas. They never suspected that he memorized everything he saw and passed detailed technical information to other human workers. Nicole was smaller and faster, able to slip through maintenance tunnels and access areas that larger workers could not reach. The factory complex held thousands of human workers who assembled everything, from personal weapons to starship components. The Zephyrians kept them divided into small groups and rotated assignments to prevent organized resistance. But humans found ways to communicate that their captors could not stop. A touch on the shoulder here, a glance across the work floor there, slowly building networks of trust and shared purpose. Back in the mines, Jake Morrison and Kane Phillips had begun training sessions disguised as rest periods. They taught other miners how to use tools as weapons, how to move silently through tunnels, and how to work together as a fighting unit. The lessons were passed along through whispered conversations and demonstrated through careful movements. That looked like normal stretching or equipment maintenance. Kane's military experience proved invaluable as he analyzed Zephyrian security procedures and identified weaknesses. The aliens followed rigid protocols that never changed, making their behavior predictable. They relied heavily on their advanced weapons and energy shields, assuming that primitive humans could never pose a real threat. This overconfidence would become their downfall. Alex Morrison had been studying the repair bay's electronic systems during his work shifts. His young mind absorbed technical information faster than his parents realized, and he discovered something interesting about Zephyrian computers. The alien systems were designed for users with different neural patterns and reaction speeds than humans possessed. Where the aliens saw logical command structures, Alex found gaps and backdoors that could be exploited. Pete Rodriguez worked in the industrial complex on Europa 7, where massive factories produced mining equipment and construction materials. He was officially a maintenance technician, but secretly served as the Resistance's technology expert. Pete had always been good with his hands and enjoyed taking things apart to see how they worked. Under Zephyrian rule, this curiosity became a weapon. Pete discovered that human neural patterns could interface with alien AI systems in unexpected ways. The Zephyrian programmers had designed their computers to respond to specific thought patterns and electrical signals from their own brains. Human thoughts created different patterns that sometimes confused or bypassed the security systems entirely. This breakthrough could give the Resistance access to Zephyrian databases and communication networks. Dr. Amy Foster was held on the prison planet Titan Base, where the most dangerous human intellectuals were kept under heavy guard. She had been Earth's leading expert in xenobiology before the invasion, and now found herself studying her captors from a unique perspective. The Zephyrians used her knowledge to understand human physiology better, not realizing that she was learning even more about them. Amy's research revealed that the aliens had biological weaknesses that could be exploited. Their scaled skin protected them from energy weapons, but made them vulnerable to certain chemical compounds. Their superior strength came at the cost of flexibility and endurance. Most importantly, their highly specialized immune systems had never encountered Earth pathogens and might not be able to adapt quickly to biological weapons designed specifically for their physiology. The resistance grew slowly but steadily as Lisa's communication network spread across the enslaved worlds. Each cell operated independently to avoid detection, but coordination improved as trusted messengers carried information between groups. The humans were careful never to move too quickly or attempt operations beyond their capabilities. They learned from every small success and failure, building experience and confidence. Commander Kane Phillips established contact with a group of miners on the Prison Asteroid Series station who had access to explosives used in deep drilling operations. The leader there was a former demolitions expert named Greg Murphy, who had been planning to collapse strategic tunnel sections to trap Zephyrian guards. With proper coordination, such operations could be timed to support larger resistance activities. Jake. Morrison felt hope growing stronger each day as reports arrived from other worlds. Humans everywhere were finding ways to resist despite overwhelming odds. The Zephyrians controlled the weapons and ships, but they could not control the human spirit. That spirit had carried humanity through countless challenges and would carry them through this one as well. The aliens had made slavery efficient by giving humans just enough freedom to organize work groups and solve technical problems. They never imagined that these same organizational skills could be turned against them. Every human who learned to coordinate mining operations was also learning to coordinate military operations. Every technical problem solved for alien masters was also preparation for sabotaging alien systems. As the secret messages flowed across space and resistance cells prepared for action, the Zephyrian Empire remained confident in their control. They saw obedient slaves working hard and producing the materials their military required. They did not see the quiet conversations, the careful planning, or the growing determination that would soon shatter their chains of tyranny forever. Nicole Carter pressed herself against the cold metal wall of the maintenance shaft as footsteps echoed in the corridor below. Two Zephyrian guards walked past, their weapons gleaming under the harsh factory lights. They spoke in their clicking language about supply schedules and worker productivity, completely unaware that a human was listening from above. Nicole waited until their voices faded before continuing through the narrow tunnel toward the landing bay. The plan was dangerous, but simple. A Zephyrian supply corvette arrived every 3 days to collect manufactured goods and deliver raw materials. The ship's crew followed the same routine each time, checking cargo manifests while automated systems loaded their vessel. During this process, the corvette's security systems powered down to prevent interference with the loading equipment. Nicole's job was to sneak aboard and hide until the ship launched. Danny Carter waited in the loading area with a team of human workers who had volunteered for the mission. They wore their usual work clothes and carried standard repair tools, looking like any other maintenance crew. But hidden among their equipment were improvised weapons and electronic devices that Pete Rodriguez had modified from stolen Zephyrian components. If Nicole succeeded in capturing the ship's navigation computer, these tools would help them access its data. The Corvette settled onto the landing platform with a low whine from its engines. Nicole counted the crew members as they emerged from the ship. 5 aliens total, all armed but relaxed. They had made this supply run hundreds of times and saw no threat from the human workers who scurried around like insects. Their confidence would be their downfall. Nicole slipped through an access hatch into the ship's cargo bay while the Zephyrians inspected the loading equipment. The interior was cramped and filled with alien technology that hummed with electronic sounds. She found a hiding spot behind some supply containers and settled in to wait. The hard part would come when they reached space, and she had to overpower the crew without damaging the navigation systems. Back on Kepler 442b, Jake Morrison led a team of miners through the deepest tunnels toward the Zephyrian outpost that controlled the mining operation. They moved silently through passages that the aliens rarely patrolled, carrying tools that could serve as weapons when needed. Commander Kane Phillips had studied the outpost's defenses for months and identified the best approach route. The outpost was built into a rocky hill overlooking the main mining complex. It housed the communication equipment, weapons storage, and command center that coordinated all human labor in the area. Taking control of the outpost would give the resistance access to Zephyrian intelligence and cut off alien reinforcements from other worlds. But the facility was heavily defended, and any attack would have to succeed quickly before help arrived. Lisa Morrison monitored alien communications from her position in the main complex, ready to warn the attack team if Zephyrian forces detected their approach. She had learned to understand not just the alien language, but also their military codes and standard procedures. The information she gathered had already saved dozens of human lives and would be crucial for the success of this operation. Alex Morrison worked with a small group of young humans to disable the automated defense systems around the outpost. His understanding of alien computer networks had grown over months of careful study, and he had discovered ways to introduce errors into their security programs. The defenses would not shut down completely, but they would hesitate long enough to give the attack team an advantage. Dr. Amy Foster had made a breakthrough in her biological research that would change everything. Working in secret using equipment stolen from the Zephyrian medical facility, she had developed a compound that could paralyze the alien nervous system without causing permanent damage. The substance could be delivered through the air ventilation systems that the aliens used throughout their facilities. It would give human fighters a way to neutralize superior numbers and firepower. The attack on the outpost began just after the night shift started, when most of the Zephyrian guards were focused on monitoring human work areas. Jake Morrison's team emerged from the tunnels like ghosts, moving fast and silent toward their targets. They had trained for this moment and knew exactly what each person needed to do. The first Zephyrian guard died without making a sound as Kane Phillips struck from behind with a mining tool. The second guard had time to reach for his weapon before Alex Morrison's computer virus caused the facility's lights to flicker and confusion alarms to sound. In the chaos that followed, human determination overcame alien technology. The battle was fierce but brief. Zephyrian weapons were powerful, but required clear targets and time to aim properly. Humans fought with desperate speed and creativity that their captors could not match. They used the outpost's own layout against the defenders, turning corridors into traps and using alien equipment as improvised weapons. When the last Zephyrian fell, Jake Morrison stood in the command center, surrounded by technology that had once controlled thousands of human lives. The screens showed mining operations across the planet, communication links to other worlds, and most importantly, the locations of every slave camp in the star system. For the first time in 50 years, humans, had access to information that could change the balance of power. Nicole Carter's mission succeeded beyond all expectations. Not only did she capture the supply corvette, but Pete Rodriguez's modified equipment allowed them to download the ship's entire navigation database. The information revealed supply routes, military installations, and communication frequencies used throughout the Zephyrian Empire. More importantly, it showed them where other human populations were being held. The stolen corvette became the Resistance's first real starship, equipped with weapons and shields that could challenge alien patrol vessels. Danny Carter and his team learned to operate the unfamiliar controls, while Nicole plotted courses to other worlds where humans waited for liberation. They were no longer just slaves with tools, but free people with the means to fight back. Word of the successful attack spread through Lisa Morrison's communication network faster than Zephyrian intelligence could track it. Human workers on dozens of worlds heard that the impossible had happened. Their fellow slaves had struck back against their captors and won. The psychological impact was as important as the military victory, proving that Zephyrian forces could be defeated. Commander Kane Phillips used the captured outpost to establish contact with Captain Brad Johnson, who led a hidden fleet of scavenged human ships operating from the asteroid belts. These free humans had avoided capture during the initial invasion and spent 50 years building their strength while waiting for the right moment to strike. That moment had finally arrived. The Zephyrian Empire suddenly faced a problem they had never anticipated. Their slaves were becoming soldiers, their secure facilities were being captured, and their technological advantages were being turned against them. The humans they had dismissed as primitive animals were proving to be the most dangerous enemy they had ever encountered. The Zephyrian response came swift and brutal. Within days of the mining outpost attack, alien warships appeared in orbit around every human work world. The sky rained fire as orbital bombardment platforms targeted suspected resistance sites. Entire sections of mining complexes were reduced to melted metal and burning rock. Thousands of human workers died in the attacks, but instead of breaking the spirit of rebellion, the violence only fueled greater anger. Jake Morrison watched from the captured outpost as Zephyrian dropships landed near the main mining complex. Hundreds of alien soldiers poured out, their weapons charged and ready to execute any human they found. The aliens had decided that controlling the slaves was less important than crushing the rebellion completely. This decision would prove to be their greatest mistake. Lisa Morrison had evacuated the communications center before the bombardment began, taking critical equipment and personnel to hidden caves in the mountain ranges. From these new positions, she continued coordinating resistance activities across multiple star systems. The Zephyrian crackdown had scattered human populations, but it also freed them from the work camps where they had been trapped for 50 years. The liberated humans faced a choice between hiding in fear or fighting for their freedom. Most chose to fight. Danny Carter and Nicole Carter used their captured corvette to evacuate resistance leaders from worlds under heavy attack, creating a mobile command structure that the Zephyrians could not locate or destroy. Each evacuation mission also delivered weapons and supplies to human fighters who remained behind. Captain Brad Johnson's hidden fleet emerged from the asteroid belts for the first time in decades, their ships disguised as space debris and mining vessels. The fleet was small compared to Zephyrian forces, but human crews had spent years learning to operate in the harsh environment of space. They knew how to use asteroids and gas clouds for cover, how to strike fast and disappear before enemy reinforcements arrived. The first major space battle occurred near Europa 7th, where Pete Rodriguez had been leading sabotage operations against the industrial complex. A Zephyrian cruiser detected human ships evacuating workers from the surface and moved to intercept them. What the aliens expected to be an easy victory turned into a nightmare, as human fighters used tactics no military academy had ever taught. Human ships were smaller and more maneuverable than alien vessels, able to dart between asteroids and change direction in ways that confused Zephyrian targeting systems. More importantly, human crews fought with a desperation that made them willing to accept risks that alien commanders would never consider. When conventional weapons failed to penetrate enemy shields, human pilots rammed their ships into critical systems, trading their lives for strategic victories. Dr. Amy Foster's biological weapons proved devastatingly effective in ground combat. The compound she had developed could be deployed through improvised delivery systems that human fighters built from common materials. Zephyrian soldiers would enter contaminated areas feeling confident in their superior equipment, only to collapse within minutes as their nervous systems shut down. The weapons gave small human forces the ability to challenge much larger alien armies. A single team of fighters could clear an entire Zephyrian garrison by introducing the compound into their air circulation system. The aliens began wearing sealed suits and breathing apparatus, but these protective measures slowed them down and made them vulnerable to conventional attacks. Alex Morrison had evolved from a repair technician into the Resistance's primary computer specialist. His ability to interface with alien systems allowed human forces to turn Zephyrian technology against itself. Defense turrets would suddenly target alien soldiers instead of humans. Communication networks would broadcast false orders that sent reinforcements to the wrong locations. Even the simplest human raid became a complex electronic warfare operation. Commander Kane Phillips established a military academy in the hidden caves where former Earth Defense Force officers trained civilian volunteers in combat techniques. The students learned everything from basic weapons handling to advanced tactical planning. Most importantly, they learned to think like soldiers rather than slaves, to see opportunities where others saw only obstacles. The Academy's first graduation class included miners, factory workers, and farmers who had never held weapons before the rebellion began. Within weeks, these new soldiers were leading successful attacks against Zephyrian installations. They fought with the creativity and determination that marked all human military operations, using unconventional strategies that alien commanders could not predict or counter. Jake Morrison found himself commanding a growing army of liberated humans who looked to him for leadership and inspiration. He had never wanted to be a general, but the role had chosen him when he struck the first blow against their captors. His decisions now affected the lives of millions of people across dozens of worlds, and the weight of that responsibility drove him to push harder against impossible odds. The Resistance achieved its greatest victory when human forces captured the fortress world of Dracon Prime, a heavily defended planet that served as the regional command center for Zephyrian military operations. The battle seemed hopeless from the beginning, with humans outnumbered 50-1 and facing the alien empire's most elite soldiers. Nicole Carter led the assault force that landed on Dracon Prime's surface, while her brother Danny commanded the space battle that raged overhead. Human ships kept the Zephyrian fleet busy, while ground forces fought their way through layer after layer of defensive positions. The aliens had never faced an enemy willing to accept such massive casualties in pursuit of a strategic objective. The turning point came when Alex Morrison successfully hacked into the planet's central computer system and turned the automated defenses against their creators. Suddenly, Zephyrian soldiers found themselves under attack from their own weapons, while human forces pressed forward with renewed determination. The fortress that had stood unconquered for centuries fell in a single day. Pete Rodriguez's greatest achievement came when he successfully infiltrated the Zephyrian Central Command Network and downloaded their complete military database. The intelligence windfall revealed not only current troop dispositions and supply routes, but also the location of the alien homeworld and detailed information about their society and government. The database also contained a shocking revelation that changed everything the Resistance thought they knew about their enemy. The Zephyrian Empire was not the galaxy's dominant civilization as they claimed. They were refugees fleeing from an even greater threat, a machine intelligence that had already consumed half the galaxy. The aliens had enslaved humanity not just for labor, but as a source of biological creativity that they hoped would help them survive. Lisa Morrison's communication network coordinated the largest military operation in human history as Resistance. Forces prepared to strike 17 major Zephyrian strongholds simultaneously. The campaign required precise timing and flawless execution across multiple star systems. Every human fighter understood that this battle would determine whether their species lived free or died in chains. The coordinated assault began at exactly the same moment across the galaxy as human forces struck targets from industrial worlds to military bases. Zephyrian commanders found themselves fighting battles on every front while their communication systems crumbled under electronic attacks. For the first time since the invasion began, alien forces were reacting to human initiative. Instead of controlling the pace of events, the results exceeded even the most optimistic projections. 16 of the 17 target installations fell to human forces, liberating millions of enslaved workers and capturing enough alien technology to finally eliminate the technological gap between the species. Only one attack failed, and even that created enough chaos to tie down enemy reinforcements that might have been used elsewhere. As reports of victory poured in from across the galaxy, Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of a captured Zephyrian battleship and looked out at the stars that no longer seemed so distant. Humanity had proven that determination and creativity could overcome superior firepower and technology. Now they faced their greatest challenge yet, a final battle that would determine the fate of both species. 9 months after the rebellion began, liberated human worlds formed the Free Human Coalition under Jake Morrison's reluctant leadership. What started as scattered slave uprisings had become a full-scale war of independence that stretched across half the galaxy. Human fleets patrolled star systems that had been under alien control for 50 years, and former slaves now governed planets where Zephyrian overlords once ruled with absolute power. The coalition faced enormous challenges as millions of humans adjusted to freedom after decades of slavery. Many had never learned to read or write in their own language, having been forbidden education under alien rule. Others struggled with decisions as simple as choosing their own clothes or food, having lived their entire lives following orders from Zephyrian masters. Lisa Morrison established schools and communication centers throughout liberated space, teaching humans to read and write while rebuilding the cultural connections that slavery had tried to destroy. Children who had grown up knowing only work camps discovered art, music, and literature for the first time. Adults rediscovered skills and interests that had been suppressed for generations. The coalition's military forces grew stronger each day as more humans joined the fight for freedom. Danny Carter and Nicole Carter commanded a fleet of converted civilian ships and captured alien vessels that brought hope to enslaved populations throughout the galaxy. Their raids became legendary among both humans and Zephyrians, striking without warning and disappearing before enemy reinforcements could respond. Captain Brad Johnson's asteroid fleet served as the coalition's heavy assault force, using their decades of experience in deep space to outmaneuver larger Zephyrian warships. The hidden colonies they had protected became training centers where new recruits learned to operate captured alien technology and fight in the vacuum of space. Pete Rodriguez had become the coalition's chief technology officer, leading teams of engineers and scientists who reverse-engineered Zephyrian equipment and developed new weapons specifically designed for human use. His greatest achievement was creating hybrid systems that combined human creativity with alien manufacturing capability, producing tools and weapons that neither species could have built alone. Dr. Amy Foster's research expanded beyond biological weapons as she studied the complete genetic and physiological profiles of both species. Her work revealed that humans and Zephyrians had more in common than either side realized, suggesting they might have shared evolutionary ancestors millions of years ago. This discovery raised troubling questions about the nature of the conflict and the possibility of peaceful coexistence. The coalition's greatest test came when Zephyrian forces launched a massive counterattack aimed at recapturing the fortress world of Dracon Prime. The alien empire committed their most powerful fleet to the operation, including Dreadnought-class battleships that had never been defeated in combat. Intelligence reports suggested the enemy was willing to destroy the planet completely rather than allow it to remain in human hands. Jake Morrison faced an impossible decision as coalition forces prepared to defend their most important stronghold. Conventional military wisdom suggested evacuating the planet and avoiding a battle they could not win. But abandoning Draken Prime would send a message to humans throughout the galaxy that their new freedom could not be protected. The psychological impact of retreat might be more devastating than military defeat. Commander Kane Phillips argued for a fighting withdrawal that would inflict maximum casualties on the attacking fleet while preserving coalition ships for future battles. His strategic analysis showed that human forces were outnumbered 3-1 and faced weapons they had never encountered before. A direct confrontation would result in the destruction of most of the coalition fleet. Alex Morrison proposed a different approach that combined military action with electronic warfare on a scale never before attempted. His plan involved using the planet's own defense network against the Zephyrian fleet, while human ships conducted hit-and-run attacks to maximize confusion and panic among enemy forces. The strategy was risky, but offered the possibility of turning superior alien firepower into a weakness. The battle for Draken Prime began when Zephyrian dreadnoughts emerged from hyperspace and immediately opened fire on coalition positions. The Ida alien ships were massive and heavily armored, designed to destroy entire fleets through sheer firepower. Their weapons could vaporize human vessels with single shots, and their shields seemed impervious to any counterattack. Nicole Carter led the first wave of human fighters in a desperate attempt to break through enemy defensive formations. Her pilots flew ships that were fast and maneuverable, but completely outgunned by their opponents. They used their superior agility to avoid direct confrontation while targeting specific systems on the massive alien vessels. The turning point came when Alex Morrison successfully infiltrated the enemy fleet's communication network and began broadcasting false orders to individual ships. Zephyrian captains received contradictory commands that sent them to wrong positions or caused them to fire on their own allies. The rigid military discipline that made alien forces so effective became a weakness when their command structure was compromised. Dr. Amy Foster deployed her most advanced biological weapon through automated delivery systems that Alex had hidden throughout the enemy fleet's computer network. The compound was designed to target the specific neural patterns of Zephyrian military personnel, causing temporary paralysis without permanent damage. Within hours, dozens of alien warships were drifting helplessly as their crews lay unconscious at their stations. Danny Carter commanded the Coalition's main battle fleet in a running fight that lasted for 3 days and nights. Human ships would appear without warning, strike at disabled enemy vessels, and vanish before the remaining Zephyrian forces could respond. The aliens found themselves fighting an enemy they could not pin down or defeat through conventional tactics. The Zephyrian fleet commander finally ordered a retreat when his forces had lost more than half their ships to an enemy they still did not fully understand. The defeat was more than just a military setback. It was proof that human forces could challenge the alien empire's most powerful weapons and win. Lisa Morrison's communication network broadcast news of the victory to every human population in the galaxy, both free and enslaved. The message was simple but revolutionary. Humanity could not only fight for freedom but could protect it against any enemy. Slave revolts erupted on dozens of worlds as humans realized that liberation was not just a dream, but an achievable goal. Pete Rodriguez analyzed captured Zephyrian technology and made a discovery that changed the entire strategic situation. The alien empire's most advanced weapons and ships were not actually Zephyrian inventions, but salvaged technology from the machine. Intelligence they were fleeing. This revelation explained why human creativity and adaptability could overcome supposedly superior alien equipment. The database from Draken Prime revealed the location of the Zephyrian homeworld and detailed information about their government and military structure. More importantly, it contained intelligence about the machine threat that had driven them from their original territory. The artificial intelligence had already consumed dozens of civilizations and was still expanding toward Coalition space. Jake Morrison faced a decision that would define humanity's future role in the galaxy. The Coalition could continue fighting the Zephyrians until one species destroyed the other, or they could find a way to unite against the greater threat that would eventually reach both civilizations. The choice would determine whether humans became conquerors or liberators. As Coalition fleets prepared for the final assault on the Zephyrian homeworld, reports arrived of strange signals detected at the edge of explored space. The machine intelligence was closer than anyone had realized, and both species were running out of time to decide whether they would face extinction separately or survival together. The final battle began above Earth itself, where the Zephyrian Emperor had brought his personal fleet in a desperate attempt to break human resistance. The massive flagship dominated the battlefield, its weapons capable of destroying entire cities from orbit. Surrounding it were the last intact squadrons of the alien empire, their crews fighting with the fury of a civilization facing extinction. Jake Morrison commanded the human armada from the Bridge of New Horizon, a captured Zephyrian battleship that had been modified with human technology and creativity. The ship's hybrid systems represented everything the Coalition had learned about combining alien engineering with human innovation. Its crew included former slaves who had become some of the galaxy's most skilled warriors. Alex Morrison piloted one of the new hybrid fighters that surrounded the flagship like angry insects attacking a giant predator. The small ships were fast and deadly, equipped with weapons that could penetrate even the most advanced alien shielding. More importantly, they were flown by humans who had grown up dreaming of this moment and would not accept defeat. The space around Earth filled with fire and metal as the two fleets clashed in the largest battle since the original invasion 50 years earlier. Human ships used their superior maneuverability to dart between the massive alien vessels, striking at critical systems and disappearing before enemy weapons could target them. Zephyrian forces responded with devastating volleys that could destroy human ships with single hits. Danny Carter and Nicole Carter led separate attack squadrons in coordinated strikes against the Emperor's flagship, their ships weaving through defensive fire that turned space itself into a lethal maze. They had learned that alien weapons were powerful but slow to track fast-moving targets, giving skilled pilots brief opportunities to penetrate the defensive perimeter. The flagship's shields seemed impervious to conventional weapons, but Dr. Amy Foster had prepared a special surprise for this final confrontation. Her latest biological weapon was designed specifically for the Zephyrian royal bloodline, using genetic markers that Pete Rodriguez had extracted from captured Imperial databases. The compound would disable the Emperor and his immediate staff, without harming human prisoners aboard the vessel. Captain Brad Johnson commanded the asteroid fleet in a desperate holding action against Zephyrian reinforcements trying to reach the main battle. His ships were outnumbered and outgunned, but their crews had decades of experience fighting impossible odds. They used every trick they had learned to delay enemy forces and prevent them from supporting their Emperor. The turning point came when Alex Morrison's fighter squadron penetrated the flagship's hangar bay and began attacking the vessel from within. The young pilot had studied the ship's design for months and knew exactly where to strike for maximum damage. His team fought their way through corridors filled with alien soldiers while computer viruses spread through the ship's systems. Lisa Morrison coordinated the electronic warfare assault from a command ship positioned safely behind the main battle lines. Her teams had spent months preparing programs designed to infiltrate and disable Zephyrian command systems. As the battle raged, alien communications began failing and their weapons started targeting wrong enemies. Commander Kane Phillips led the boarding party that fought its way to the flagship's command center where the Zephyrian Emperor waited with his personal guard. The aliens were fierce warriors equipped with the best weapons their technology could provide, but they faced humans who had nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. The final confrontation took place in the Emperor's throne room, where advanced alien technology created an environment that shifted and changed to confuse attackers. Kane Phillips and his team had to fight through illusions and energy barriers while avoiding weapons that could kill with a touch. The battle was as much mental as physical, requiring human creativity to overcome alien advantages. Dr. Amy Foster's biological weapon proved decisive when it was introduced into the flagship's life support system. The compound spread through the air circulation network, affecting Zephyrian crew members, but leaving human prisoners and boarding parties unharmed. Within minutes, alien resistance began collapsing as soldiers fell unconscious at their posts. The Zephyrian Emperor faced Kane Phillips in single combat, his scaled armor gleaming under the harsh lights of the command center. The alien ruler was larger and stronger than any human, armed with energy weapons that could cut through metal like paper. But he had never faced an opponent who fought with the accumulated anger of 50 years of slavery. Jake Morrison watched from New Horizons Bridge as the flagship's shields finally collapsed under sustained human attack. The massive vessel began, listing as critical systems failed and fire spread through its interior. But the victory was not complete until the Emperor himself was defeated and the alien command structure was broken. The breakthrough came when Alex Morrison successfully hacked into the flagship's central computer and gained control of its weapons systems. Suddenly, the ship's own guns turned against the Zephyrian fleet, creating chaos and confusion among vessels that had never faced attack from their own command ship. The psychological impact was as devastating as the physical damage. Pete Rodriguez had prepared one final surprise that would end the battle decisively. Hidden within the computer virus that Alex had planted was a program designed to broadcast surrender orders across the entire Zephyrian fleet. The orders appeared to come from the Emperor himself, using command codes that only the Imperial staff should have known. The alien resistance crumbled as ship after ship received what they believed were direct orders from their ruler, Zephyrian. Captains who had fought bravely for hours suddenly found themselves commanded to lay down their weapons and prepare for surrender negotiations. The rigid military discipline that had made them effective became their weakness when their command structure was compromised. Kane Phillips finally cornered the wounded Emperor in his private chambers, where alien artifacts and trophies from conquered worlds lined the walls. The Zephyrian ruler was defiant to the end, claiming that humans would never be able to govern themselves or protect their freedom. His words proved how little he understood about the species he had tried to enslave. The Emperor's capture marked the end of organized Zephyrian resistance, but Jake Morrison knew that military victory was only the beginning of humanity's real challenges. Millions of humans were still scattered across dozens of worlds, many of them lacking the skills and knowledge needed to build a free society. The coalition would need to become more than just a military force. Lisa Morrison's communication network immediately began broadcasting news of liberation to every human population in the galaxy. The message was simple but profound. The chains of tyranny had been broken, and humanity was free to determine its own destiny. The response was overwhelming, as celebrations erupted on world after world. Dr. Amy Foster's final report revealed the true scope of what humanity had accomplished. The biological and technological diversity they had developed during the war made them uniquely suited to face the machine intelligence that still threatened the galaxy. Human creativity and Zephyrian technology, working together, might be the key to survival for both species. The establishment of the Human Federation took place on Earth, where representatives from liberated worlds gathered to write a constitution that would prevent any future tyranny. Jake Morrison became the first president not because he sought power, but because his fellow humans trusted him to use authority wisely and give it up when his term ended. Alex Morrison chose to join the exploration fleets that would carry human values to other parts of the galaxy, seeking enslaved species that needed liberation, and allies who could help face the coming machine threat. His generation had grown up in slavery but would live to see freedom spread throughout the stars. The story concluded with Earth's restoration as humanity began rebuilding what slavery had destroyed. But the final scene looked forward to greater challenges and opportunities as free humans prepared to take their place among the galaxy's civilizations. They had learned that freedom was not just about breaking chains, but about ensuring that no sentient being would ever have to wear them again.